Hello everyone, Shroomraver here, and today I'm really excited to be bringing you my Week 3 battle from Season 2 of the Pokemon Premier League, the PPL. Yes indeed, very exciting stuff. Today, we are going up against RhyQuinn and, I was about to say the Nottingham Forest curse there. He's not the Nottingham Forest curse anymore, he's RhyQuinn and the Nidoqueens Park Rangers. That's the one. Now, if you missed my team building analysis video, that will be down in the description below. If you want a really in-depth analysis of the stuff I brought and why, you can go and check that out. But very briefly, going over what I brought, I went with Mixed Scarf Victini, Double Dance Scyther, Physically Defensive Calm Mind Audino, Physically Defensive, what's that thing called? Poliwrath, my new member of the squad, Specially Defensive Stealth Rocking Defogging Empoleon, and a sub-nasty plot Salak Berry Mismagius. Now, RhyQuinn's team. He has brought to the party new member of his team Doublade, Hawlucha, Hydreigon, Mew, Tentacruel, and Mamoswine. Now, my instant first thing I saw, no Darmanitan, and you cannot fathom how utterly relieved I was seeing no Darmanitan. For the record, Darmanitan currently has 8 KOs in 2 games. It is by far and away leading the pack in the MVP race, to Tyrantrum by the way, with 5 kills and no deaths on my team. But to see no Darmanitan just made me so happy. That just meant that as far as his main physical threats were concerned, stuff like Doublade and unboosted Hawlucha and that thing at the end, Mamoswine, Poliwrath was going to be looking really good. He did have the Mew. I wasn't entirely sure what he was going to do with it, because he has a couple of things that can really wall out my Victini, those being Tentacruel and Hydreigon, which I was fairly sure would both be physically defensive. So I really wasn't sure what the Mew was going to be. He could have been bringing some special defense investment on the Doublade to buff that on the special side, so I wasn't sure whether the Mew was going to be specially defensive or a scary offensive set. It didn't look like he had too many options as far as full special offense was concerned, so it could well have been set up nasty plot of his own. So that was quite scary. Plans here, get rid of the Mamoswine, like as soon as possible as a matter of course. Try and wear down those sort of middle two, the Hydreigon and the Mew. Audino was going to be really nice here, and hopefully I could sweep up towards the end with the likes of Victini, or maybe a boosted Scyther / Mismagius. So, that was the teams that we're going into this battle with, so without further ado, let's get right into the battle and see how this one played out. Okay, here we go. RhyQuinn is issuing his challenge. I'm going to lead off with my Scarf Victini. He is in fact going to lead with Mamoswine, which I thought was odd because I thought that was going to be one of his main win conditions. But the fact he led with it meant he was either Scarfed or Sash lead. So either way, I'm going to go for U-turn. I'll outspeed him whatever, because I'm Scarfed, and if he's Sashed, I can break it. So I'm going to go into my safe Mamoswine switch, which is going to be Poliwrath making his debut, as Rhy is going to set up the rocks. Now this pretty much confirms he is Sash Rocks lead, which makes me so happy. It means his Mamoswine is not necessarily his main offensive threat. Does mean I've got to look out for what is. So in comes DOV, that's Mew. And I'm just going to go for Waterfall. No real reason not to. I don't fear the Mamoswine in the slightest. And this does negligible damage to the Mew, and he shows leftovers, so he is a bulky set of some description. At this point, I am just going to go for the Protect. No reason not to. I can kind of scan out and see the kind of thing he's going to go for, and it turns out he's going to go for the Knockoff. I'm protected, absolutely fine. He gets more leftovers back. We're in a good position. Now I can kind of work from here and see what we're going to do. I'm going to withdraw, don't want to stay in case he does have stab. I'm going to go into Shardino, predicting actually the next knockoff, because I don't want leftovers gone on my Poliwrath just yet if I can avoid it. And you know, that's exactly what he does. He is going to go for the knockoff. That's going to do negligible damage, a bit more than I'd like because at the moment I'm not Mega Evolved. But this is the opportunity where I can do just that. I'm going to go for the Mega Evolution. The fact he went for the second knockoff, I'm kind of thinking knockoff is his only attack, but I do need to use Audino to kind of scout that out. And here he's going to reveal that he has Taunt. Now I went for Wish, no real reason not to. I don't lose anything by not taking a turn here. So he's revealed Knockoff, he's revealed Taunt, he's very much a defensive set, but now I just need to kind of gauge which defensive he's running with. He actually predicts me to switch out here, but I'm not going to, and this is the start of Audino starting to really get under Rhy's skin. I go for the Dazzling Gleam, it does nothing. This is specially defensive Mew, I've worked this out by now, because that does absolutely nothing. But I'm going to be the one to force him out. I'm comfortable with Audino. I want him to be the one to make the plays. So, he's going to go into his Tentacruel, as actually I do pull the switch of my own. I'm going to go into Scyther here, completely forgetting about Stealth Rock. That puts me on the back foot, because I've made a huge error here. And I can't do anything to Tentacruel particularly, especially if he's physically defensive. So I'm going to go into my Empoleon, who Tentacruel can't really touch. And he just proves that he's going to go for the Scald, looking to try and get a burn on Scyther if it stays in. He's not going to get the burn here, which is absolutely fine by me. And here, he's going to withdraw his Tentacruel, and he's going to go straight on into his Mamoswine, predicting my Defog, which is exactly what I do, no reason not to. But at this point, he has to make a decision. Does he want Rocks up, or does he want to try and threaten me out? He's actually going to try and get his Rocks up again, possibly predicting me to switch out, fearing Earthquake, but I'm Sugarberry. I can take any one hit from this thing, especially now that I'm pretty sure he was just lead Sash. So, gonna go for the Scald and clean take out Mamoswine. Turn 10, Mamoswine's gone, exactly what I wanted to happen. But the fact that he was Sash lead means he's not the main offensive threat. This guy is one of Rye's main offensive threats, Wrestling Pun the Hawlucha. So, I'm going to switch on out of there and get myself into Audino. Do take some Rocks damage, I'm going to have to pick my moment to try and go for Defog. As he goes for Swords Dance, this is now terrifying. If he gets an Unburden off, then he's going to sweep me, just straight up. However, he fears that he can't take me out, he was running a Jolly set. He fears that I can tank a hit, he's going to go into his Tentacruel, as I just go for Dazzling Gleam. Once again, I have no reason not to at this point, I just need to get damage on the Hawlucha if I can. He reveals Black Sludge on the Tentacruel, that means at the very least he's not Assault Vest, which is always nice to know. And here, he's going to predict my switch into my Empoleon, go into his Mew to try and get the Taunt off to stop me from going for a Defog. But I'm staying in, I'm going for Wish. And here, I predict him not to go for Taunt. I predict him to think I'm going to switch out predicting the Taunt, so he's going to go for a knockoff to try and get rid of an item on another Mon. I don't care, I'm staying in, I know he's not going for Taunt this turn, I know he's going for the knockoff, so I get my first Calm Mind up. And now, Mega-Audino is looking fairly solid, because I've got one Calm Mind up, I've got a Wish coming in, and I'm fairly certain next turn he is either going to switch or be forced, pressured to go for the Taunt that he didn't go for last time, because now Audino is looking really nice. Either way, I figure my best play is probably just to go for a Dazzling Gleam at this point. He's going to go into his Tentacruel, as I do go for that Dazzling Gleam. And what's happening here is a series of plays where he's trying to force me to go out into my Empoleon on his Tentacruel, so that he can stop me from defogging with his Taunting Mew. So as you say here, he's going to go straight on back into DOV the Mew, looking for me to switch into my Empoleon, but I'm having none of it. I'm just going to go for the Wish once again, keep my Audino as healthy as possible, and just do what Audino does best, sit in and annoy the opponent. Here, he is going to go for the Taunt, I just go for the Dazzling Gleam, figuring that that's what he's going to do, and you know, I'm at +1, but it does so little damage. You know, Mew is just going to be tanking those hits, and given that he's a support set, I'm figuring he will have some kind of recovery, but probably not status, or he'd have gone for it earlier on Audino. At this point, he's going to make the offensive switch into Darth Maul, that is the first showing of his Blade, as I just go for the Dazzling Gleam. Absolutely fine, I can get a little bit of chip damage there, it's not going to do an enormous amount. And here, he's going to withdraw once again, and he's going to go into DOV the Mew, fearing my Flamethrower, just going to scout for it. I don't have Flamethrower, I have Hidden Power Ground, and he was kind of confused at this point, I think, as to what Hidden Power I was rocking, because generally you see this kind of Audino with Stab and Flamethrower. My Taunt wears off, he's going to go straight for it again, no reason not to on his behalf. I kind of mess up and go for a Calm Mind, but I don't particularly mind, again as I say, missing a turn with Mega-Audino in against Mew, because he can't do anything to me, at all. So once again, I'm going to be the one to force him out, and he goes into his Tentacruel, as I just go for the Dazzling Gleam, just again to gauge how much damage I can do. And it's doing negligible damage to Tentacruel. Tentacruel very naturally specially bulky. Even though he's Fizz Def, he's going to be taking that. Here he's going to reveal Acid Spray, very nice to pack against a Calm Minding Audino. Gets the, of course, that big special defense drop, as I just go for the Hidden Power. I figured I could take one hit from it, whatever, and get off some damage. I do get a crit here, and that's very big. It's very nice to be able to wear down this Tentacruel as much as possible. But at this point, I do not want to be staying in. And this is the time where Rye does eventually get it right. He's going to now go into Mew, and finally he has pressured me to go into my Empoleon to try and get that defog off. Kind of, I was predicting him to stay in and go for a Sludge Bomb. He knew I was going to predict that, so he makes the good play into Mew. So at this point, he is going to be able to taunt my Empoleon and stop me from going for that defog. And that's exactly what he does. Going to stop it and then try and get a favourable switch, probably into Hawlucha. But I see that coming, I know that's what his plan is, so I'm just going to go for a Scald. Try and fish for the burn, which I do end up getting, which is really nice indeed. He does of course synchronise it back to me, but Empoleon doesn't particularly mind, I have Wish support, and I have special offense on Empoleon, so I'm fine with being burnt if it means I can get some chip damage onto this Mew. It's going to pressure him to try and heal up in some way, shape or form as well, which is just nice to have that thrown in. At this point though, I need to switch out, there's nothing really much else I can do to this guy, so why not go back into Shardino and just kind of buy myself a bit more time, see what he's going to have to do. He goes for the Heal Bell, proving that he does have that, he has that Cleric move. The upshot of the last turn was that Empoleon kind of just burnt itself, which is less than ideal, but we can deal with it, it's fine. Now here I'm going to pull a double switch and I'm going to go into Sorting Hat, because I know he's going to go for the taunt here. He's not going for a knockoff onto Miss Magus. I know the taunt is coming, I can try and force him out with a big stab hit. Even if he's specially defensive, Shadow Ball's going to be doing a lot of damage. I am max special attack, albeit timid. So I can't go for sub, I can't go for nasty plot, I'm just going to go for the attack, I'm going to go for the Shadow Ball, and massively damage this thing. I do get the special defense drop. Now, this wouldn't necessarily have mattered had he not gone for Soft Boiled, which is what he does, scouting me out knowing he can take a hit because he's specially defensive. But at this point, because I have that big special defense drop, it does mean his Mew is forced out. He has no attack investment, so he's not going to be able to take me out with a knockoff. That means I can just lock myself in with Shadow Ball, and he brings in the Doublade. Really interesting decision by him. That's another one of his massive threats, and because it's got rubbish special defense, and turns out he was running fast instead of bulky with speed instead of HP, I just take him out with a Shadow Ball, and down he goes. Now, in comes Hydreigon. The only reason you bring this guy in is if it's Scarfed. He tries to bluff it, he fails. I know he's not Scarfed. I know he's going to be using this thing to try and take out Victini. I know it's physically defensive. So I go for Dazzling Gleam, it does huge damage, nearly takes out the Hydreigon, but it doesn't and he can revenge me with a Dark Pulse. Now, here, it would be very easy for me to go into Victini and just either revenge kill this guy or force him out with a U-turn and get initiative, but here is where I see my opportunity to get a defog off. I can deal with Hydreigon. Hydreigon isn't too much of a problem for me. He reveals Roost here, he's very much confirmed to be physically defensive for my Victini, so what I can do is just go for my defog. And now there's no more rocks on my side of the field. His Mew has revealed all his moves, his Mew does not have Stealth Rock, his Mamoswine is gone. I'm safe from hazards at this point. Now, what do I now plan to do? Empoleon's not doing an awful lot more, so what I'm going to do here is just scout out how much damage I can do with an Ice Beam. He is going to outspeed me naturally, of course, and go for the Roost. That is going to get him back up to full. So now we're going to be able to see exactly how much damage I can do to a physically defensive Hydreigon. The answer? Not bad at all, That's looking to be around 40%, slightly less with Leftovers Recovery. Excuse me. Now, I'm specially defensive, I know that I can live another couple of iterations of burn and any one hit. Knowing that he's trying to storm me out with Roost, and knowing that he can just get himself back up to full anyway, I'm going to take my opportunity to get my Stealth Rocks up for the first time. So that's fantastic. Rocks are now up on his side of the field, unless he can get a spin-off, they're there to stay. So I take a bit more burn damage, and knowing that he's now going to attack with Dark Pulse, I know I can take one more hit. And I can go for the Ice Beam, try and get as much damage as possible, and let Empoleon go down. This is the perfect series of events for me. I get a slightly higher roll, he's sitting at just under 50%, maybe around 55% of his health, and Empoleon does go down to the burn. Nice and vicarious, synchronized burn KO for Mew. Very nice of him there. What I can do now, however, is bring in Scyther, and much as I wanted to set up, I couldn't take the risk of him actually having the Flamethrower. So, I'm going to go for the Bug Bite as he sacks off his Mew. Now, this is a sack play, I go for the Bug Bite. I am going to score a crit here and take out the Mew. This mattered because without the crit he would have lived. Didn't matter because he was sacking it, however, it works out better for him because he now brings in Hawlucha. If I hadn't KO'd that Mew, I'd have set up on it, and I would have lived any one hit. He doesn't have status, I could have set up my Double Dance and swept right. As it is, I can't take the risk of him setting up a Swords Dance with Hawlucha. I have to go for the Aerial Ace, and down goes Scyther. What I now can do, however, is bring in Lildun. He has no Unburden boost. It turns out he was actually running Limber, so it didn't matter either way. I know I can outspeed, and I can go for that big V-Create and just deal damage to something. In comes Hydreigon. He's going to take this V-Create because he's physically defensive, but I'm damn sure he's not going to take two because Victini's power. The fact that I'm Scarfed means that this defense drop is just going to put me back at neutral. I'm base 100, Hydreigon I believe is base 98, so I'm outspeeding this thing whatever happens. And I can go for another V-Create, and that of course will take out Hydreigon. He's actually going to pull the switch though, and he's going to go into LL Cruel J, that being his Tentacruel, take a little bit of rocks damage, and I'm going to be able to take him out with the V-Create. I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here. But you know, even at that range of health, even a physically defensive Tentacruel isn't taking a Scarfed, positive-natured, max-invested V-Create from Victini. So down goes the Tentacruel, and that is really nice indeed. But now he can bring back in Hydreigon, and clearly he was fishing for the speed drop so that he can now outspeed and try and KO me. But I'm not taking that risk. I'm just going to switch right on out and go into Audino, because it's getting towards the end game now. All he has left is this guy and Hawlucha. So he's going to go for the Roost, try desperately and get himself back up to a decent amount of health. With the leftovers, he's sitting at around sort of 60, 65, 70%-ish. But it's rather for naught because I have Audino in here, physically defensive, and I can clean up this game from here. He's going to go into Hawlucha desperately, but I'm just going to set up a Calm Mind on him, because that's what I can do. I now have that opportunity. Taking the risk of him having Taunt on Hydreigon, but I figured he wouldn't because he has it on Mew. So Audino is now sitting here with +1 in from a Calm Mind. He goes for Swords Dance on Hawlucha. He kind of has to. His only way of winning is if I go for another Calm Mind and get greedy. He can set up a Swords Dance and try and sweep, but I have no reason here not to go for Dazzling Gleam. At +1, that is going to take out the Hawlucha from there, so down goes Wrestling Pun. And now all he has left is the Hydreigon, which is physically defensive, takes a little bit of damage from rocks. He's going to go for the Dark Pulse here. I don't begrudge him that. He kind of has to look for like 17 million flinches. As it is, he's not even going to get the first one. And a quad super effective Dazzling Gleam is going to take out Hydreigon from there, and that is going to be the game. So, really good game there, RhyQuinn. Ending up in a 3-0 victory for Parasect Germain. Excellent stuff. It's a bit of a different game, this one, as opposed to the other two. The other two involved just late game sweeps, lots of KOs for one mon. This one, much more tactical than the last two games have been. I had a lot of mons to work around, like the Tentacruel and the Mew, switching around between them. Fortunately, I was able to use Mega-Audino fairly effectively, and it was just able to just sit there and annoy him. And far be it from me to have moves on Audino that could touch the likes of Mew and, to be honest, Tentacruel. The fact that I could use it just to sit there meant that he was the one who was forced to pull the switches. And that kind of put him on the back foot, it put him on the defensive, and I was able to just sit there, soak up the pressure, and pick my moments. Also nice, I have to say on a personal note, to see Victini getting a kill finally. It's taken 3 weeks, but Victini's finally got its first KO. Hopefully we can move onwards and upwards from there. So, as I said, that is the 3-0 victory for Parasect Germain. That puts us at 3-0 for the season so far. Perfect possible start. But it doesn't get any easier, gang. Because my next game is going to be against Alex, Onesie Bayonet, and Celta Dano. Now, this is not going to be next week's game. Next week, there is a little bit of an enforced break. A lot of us in the league, including myself, are in fact going to be attending EGX, Eurogamer, in Birmingham that weekend. So that's going to sort of take precedence. We're not going to be around, obviously, to have our battles. So we're going to be taking a little bit of a break for a week, and then we'll get back into it next week, and normal service will be resumed. But that normal service, as I say, is going to be against Onesie Bayonet. This is going to be a really tough game. He is on form. I'm not going to tell you the result of his week 3 match. All you need to know is he also won his first 2 games. And he has a very, very good team. He's got the likes of Mega-Audino, who is just a jack of all trades. But in a sort of different way to most jack of all trades, it's good at everything it does. It's not average at them, it's good at them. So it's very difficult to determine what kind of set he's going to be bringing. He also has like premier wall breakers, the likes of Nidoqueens. Staraptor is in there. Staraptor is terrifying. There aren't switch-ins to banded Staraptor. It's just too powerful. So once again, I'm going to have to playing around that. Try and be as clever as possible with my sets. It's going to be interesting to see who comes away with the win. Last time, we won 1-0 against him. It just came down to speed tiers in Tailwind. It was just the closest of close. I can't remember if it was eventually voted Game of the Season, but it was up there with the rest of the nominations. So, you know, that's going to be a fantastic game against Alex Onesie Bayonet. Really looking forward to that. But as far as opponents are concerned, links to RhyQuinn from this week will be down in the description below. Do make sure you go and check out his channel. You'll be able to see his side of this battle, all his other PPL battles, and the rest of his fantastic content. He's a very good friend of mine. We do a lot of collaborative stuff, so make sure you head over there and check him out. Speaking of links, down in the description, those to the Twitter and YouTube of the PPL will be there as well. To keep up with all things PPL, news, transfers, everything you need to know, links will be down there. You can check out stuff like Meet the Manager videos, interviews, weekly recaps are all there with our fantastic analysts that we've got as well. So yeah, everything you need to know about the PPL will be down there in those links, so make sure you check them out as well to stay as up to date as possible. But yeah, that is pretty much going to be it from me. We come away from this week 3-0. It's looking good. I think we're playing better. Next week, or rather the week after, next game, is going to be very tough indeed. So, look out for my team building video. That'll be up in a couple of weeks, shortly before the battle will go up in 2 Saturdays from now. But yeah, that's going to be it from me. So, until then, keep supporting Parasect Germain, guys. We are going for the top. Thank you all very much for watching, and I guess with that, I'll see you next time. Laters.